Scouts together. I was probably, I don't know, 16, 17, I don't know. I was an adult, I think. He was still high, you know. And we had a lot of good times camping at
Also,
Washington, North Carolina, and camping in the area and doing projects around the community. And, you know, you meet people in years past, and then you never see them again. You don't know what happened to them. Then all of a sudden they just show up. And that's what happened to Charles. He came to a full gospel meeting a couple months ago when Pastor spoke.
yes, sir.
Pastor spoke. And eventually, so he caught the hook and decided to join up with us. He was going with us to the advance, and then something came up. He couldn't go. But anyway, he's here tonight, and I won't go into his bio or anything, because if you know him, if you don't know him, you'll soon know him. Okay, I'd like the members to come up and pray for him, and
I certainly thank Mr. John, and it's been good to know Mr. John for 30-something years, right? And I want to just thank everybody for attending tonight, and I'd like everybody to know that God is good all the time, and all the time God is good every single day in my life. Even when I don't see it, He is good to me. And part of what I'm talking about tonight is how through life's disappointments, God shines through, because He's got a job for us to do, and He wants us to know that He loves us, and He supports us in what He wants us to do, and what we endeavor to strive to do, to prove that He has made a difference in our life. Okay? So, I was asked to do this by Mr. John, and I said, well, what am I going to talk about? I said, well, I'm going to give a little bit of my history. Okay, very simple. I was born here, was raised here. My family's lived here probably hundreds of years. Some of them are core bankers. They're from the core banks, and from the Promised Land District of Morehead City. Some of them were from New Bern and some other places. I grew up in the church. I grew up in the Scouts. I was raised by my father mostly, and my grandmother, granddaddy. And my grandmother's still around. She's 96 years old. She's an amazing woman of God, and loves Jesus with all her heart, and has been a great influence upon my life. Growing up in the Scouts was a very fun thing to do. Back then, it really was fun. We had a great time. And going to school here, it was a challenge for me, because the second, I'll just go ahead and explain. I'm not alien to the idea of public speaking. When I was in the second grade, I used to do puppet shows, and I mentioned this to John and a few others. So I was used to dealing with the public. Well, I moved schools. We moved to Beaufort, North Carolina, and they didn't like puppet shows, not one bit. No, they had already grown up. They were already grown up when I got there, from the second grade to the second grade, because I had to repeat the second grade. They didn't like puppet shows. So I was stuck. I was like, oh, gee, what do I do now? And so for many years, I didn't get up and do any public speaking, but I was not alien to the whole idea. I used to entertain people a lot. I was a very entertaining kid. It did a lot of things to my ego. I had a lot of disappointments coming up through that. I came through a family that was a fighting middle-class family. We didn't always fight each other. They were struggling to stay middle class, basically. We had moved around a little bit. I lived in Virginia. And all through this, there were disappointments along the way, and certain things would happen, certain things that I didn't get that I thought I should get, and God shined through all of these things to show me that what was on the other side of that disappointment was a joy unimaginable. Just an amazing, wonderful, great presence that he had upon my life. That you always hear that people are raised in the church, okay? They're either people have this perception that they're supposed to be able to know how to mark off all the check boxes, but they don't have any spiritual walk with Christ. Or they go completely off the deep end. They run away from it. I've never been too far away from Christ, and he's never been too far away from me. But there have been struggles. If you raise your child in the way they must go, they will not depart from it. I firmly believe that. That was the way I was raised. I was raised to, no matter what, seek Jesus. No matter what's going on in your life, seek Jesus. If you were in trouble. But all the disappointments that happened. I went through school. I went through high school. I left Carteret County. 1993 to 1996, I was going to school in Knoxville, Tennessee. And there were some disappointments up there. But that was overshadowed the joy that I had in getting there and what I was doing when I was there. And I was working in some really good stuff. I was working studying supercomputers. I mean, I was going to go work for the Defense Armed Services Research Administration, DARPA. I was going to go work for them. That fell through. Everything fell through. I ended up having to come home. But if I didn't come home, then what I have going on in my life today would have never occurred. Okay? I mean, I have a rock band. I have a great job. And I'm not just blowing smoke. I have a good job. I'm connected with people that want to know about Jesus, okay? And all this stuff that I was raised up with about Jesus gets to come out every day at my job. How many people can say, I get to listen to Christian music every day? And you go out there in the workplace, you ain't gonna be able to experience that at the job. And that's gonna bring you down. A lot of people said, that's a drag. It is a drag. I'm gonna tell you that. This is the part where I get into shop talk with Bible believers about, having to work a secular job. It can be a drag when you have to listen to whatever your boss plays on the radio, and you're not in spiritual line with that, and there's not much you can do about that. I don't have to deal with that. You see, all those little disappointments that I had to go through, all those disappointments that I had to go through were temporary. Joy is eternal, okay? And the eternal joy of knowing God and him know you, that he won't turn his face from you when you call his name. That's an important thing to remember, because when you do hear Christian music at work and you realize, I'm blessed, and because I'm blessed, I can tell you how you're blessed. And all of these things that happen to me, okay, it all points me constantly in the direction of walking in Jesus, in the presence of Christ, okay? And I prayed earlier today, and I asked, I said, what is it that I really need to touch on that's 4x4, square, biblically based, what we can carry with us when we leave here tonight about what I was talking about. All these things that point me in this direction. And I flipped open the Bible, and I just came right to the book of Saint Mark. And it talks about when they were walking in the country of the Gadarenes in Mark chapter 5. And they got out of the ship. Immediately they met a man out of the tombs with an unclean spirit. And he was in the tombs, and nobody could bind him, not with chains or anything else. He broke his chains constantly, trying to get free. And in the process, he was cutting himself. He was crying in the tombs. And when Christ showed up, when he was with the disciples, he asked Christ not to torment him. Christ didn't torment him. What he did was very simple. And these are the words of Christ, so I'm going to say it exactly the way it's written. Come out of the man, thou unclean spirit. And so all these things that happened in my life prepared me for the day that I could tell young men, and even some old men, that I deal with on a daily basis, you can be rid of that. And you can be free of that. And you can be with me, with Christ and the Father in glory. And we can run and never look back. And that is why disappointments happen. That is why letdowns happen. That is why things get broken. Because they are going to get put back together. Better things are going to come. God says, I will not leave you. I will not forsake you. Okay, so you must believe it. So I had to believe it. That's the hardest part because I'm stubborn. People just don't know sometimes how stubborn I am. So I want to ask you tonight, when you look at your own life, you realize all the things that are going on pointing you to the Father. Everything that's going on in your life, everything, the world around us, it points to the Father. All of it. Jesus Christ came and he said, I came to say only what the Father told me to say. Okay. So I had to ask God, what would you have me tell these people? Because in this room combined, believers, even to believe, and I believe it, that most of these people are Bible-professing, Bible-believing, Bible-walking believers. Okay? I'm talking 1,000 years of belief in this room. So what would you tell them? All of it. Doesn't point to me. I point to Jesus. And I want everybody in here to know that. And that's really my story. I thank everybody for coming tonight. I wanted to keep it short. They said 20 minutes. I said, I don't know if I can do 20 minutes. But I hope this was entertaining enough. And I certainly enjoyed everybody coming out tonight. John?